Rather than cutting as intended, the cameras stayed in position. The audience gasped shortly after Chrissy revealed her secret wedding on TV. Social media took off. Jim Jones did nothing but sit. No one knew what he was thinking. No one could tell if he was injured, confused, or about to burst out. However, what happened backstage after the credits rolled was not meant for the general audience to see. A hidden camera that was still recording behind the curtain recorded what happened next. Uncut and uncensored tears, accusations, shouting, and the truth. After Jim Jones created a huge while, producers hurried to settle things down next to Chrissy's changing area. They were not going to come out. This was more than just reality TV. With the internet watching everything in its pure, messy state, this collaboration persisted for decades in the creation and breaking of things in real-time state. The strategy of social media feuds included frequent reunions, special shouting, ranting, a few walk-offs, and a sprinkling. But what transpired over the final 5 minutes of Real Love, Real Lives' Harlem episode was not expected. Chrissy didn't just show up glammed up and with attitude. She brought a mystery with her. Furthermore, you could sense the shift in mood when she disclosed to the group that she was wed. I did what I had to do in privacy, exhausted from the studio. For the first time in my life, I didn't wait. I didn't ask. I decided for myself. Not only did the audience gasp, but I had a husband. The source is not the host. Except for the cast, people were still recovering from minor strife throughout the entire show. Jim. The biggest gasp came from Jones's silence. He stayed still and didn't blink or flinch. Even though the stage was still illuminated by diamond chains wearing sunglasses, the silence was more potent than any exploit that he could have utilized while the hosts of the reunion desperately attempted to take back control and roll the credits. By the end of the show, Jim is still standing. The producers gave the wrap-up cue. Bravo, viewers. The lights went off. The group began to shuffle towards the back corridor to be ready for their exit interviews. However, Jim Jones is still seated. One of the boom operators later said that it seemed like he was struck by a bus composed of everything he might have avoided. Instead of anger, he reacted with disbelief. That deep quiet, in which, as he was holding himself together, leaves your heart unsure of what to do. He sat with his hands on the armrests of the velvet reunion chair. "Wow, for real," was all he could hear over the din of the crew, and his microphone was still hot. Then, slowly and methodically, he rose and moved from the nut to the green room, not even to the changing rooms. He proceeded directly to Chrissy's personal trailer backstage, which she had reserved since they arrived. What was concealed by the main cameras, everything literally went off script at that moment, and the primary camera feed went black. Thank God Reggie, a freelance backstage videographer, continued to use his camera after being hired to capture behind-the-scenes video for social media advertising. He nailed the essence of conflation. Reggie kept rolling without realizing what he was getting into. "You simply tossed that on me like that on live TV," while Jim hurried past security and used one hand to pry open Chrissy's dressing room door. Chrissy turned abruptly without knocking or warning. The heel is still off to start. Makeup artist's mid-touch freeze. She let her tiny mirror fall to the floor as her jaw tensed. "You knew we were done, Jim. You knew that. But I'm married. So yeah. I got married to a man who never texted me. You didn't think I deserved at least that? Oh, would you like to speak now? You left me for 6 months after skipping couples therapy and not showing up for my mother's funeral." Boom. At that moment, it became real. You could hear the breaths of every single person in that corridor stop. The production assistant with the clipboard froze. In order to maintain clear audio, Reggie backed off just enough, even as one of the goal of the backdrop stylists was to keep the entrance hidden. Everything on the cameras rolling. Nobody knew that Chrissy had left the microphone in the dressing room running. Although the audio was crystal clear, it was an accident rather than following process. 2 hours following the breach. On Twitter, the video received a lot of shares. TWWW with Z shared a video along with the caption, "Chrissy gave this man 20 years, yet he spoke nothing about her. He compelled her to choose for herself." The video went viral now. Supporters were divided. Because Chrissy Dott's voice cracked with agony despite all of that stress, the majority supported her. Others felt harmed, duped, and taken by surprise, so they backed Jim. You knew that on that day you knew about my exhaustion. I waited on you for years. You assured me of a wedding, a family, and a life, but I only ever got promises. I'm loyal to you. Jim struck back. I'm in limbo because of you. No Twitter goes down in a few minutes. All across the country, Jim Jones and Chrissy reached number 1 and number 2 on the charts, respectively. The Shade Room posted the video. Hollywood Unlocked discussed the altercation live. And just like that, poof, gone. Mama Jones wrote beside a 2012 photo of herself and Chrissy joining the commotion. The comments were scathing. Jim was 20 years old and had no friends. Love was time. Chrissy said, I do, in response to someone who did. That guy offered us dips at classics, but he was unable to get Chrissy a date. A dot. Meanwhile, fans began deleting old hip-hop shows, love, receipts, and interviews, as well as Chrissy's self-deprecating proposal in 2011. It replayed every second she spent online. She waited for a very long time before giving up. Now Jim retreats to his caravan. According to a production worker, Jim left Chrissy's room without saying anything further. He made no attempt to scream, slam anything, or fight anyone. He just made his way to his caravan, sat down, and closed the door. He remained silent. A makeup artist who handed him a towel said he just stared at the floor. After some time, his chains were set on the vanity counter. After taking them off one by one, it was the first time anyone had ever seen Jim without them since the movie started. 10:48 p.m. Eventually, he sent his first-day pal Crazy Zeke an SMS to break the stillness. She succeeded. She was playing a bluff. Chrissy's phone seemed to be vibrating constantly. Meanwhile, the actors, writers, and Chrissy's phone was inundated with texts and direct messages from friends she hadn't spoken to in years. But one message stood out in a special manner. A proud of you welcome from a man whose identity the world knows was given by her new husband. Doesn't know yet. Let them talk. Chrissy didn't want to make headlines when she walked onto the reunion tape. Her wedding ring hidden beneath a new one, her heart-armored manicure. She had 20 years of history, so she was ready. She did not wish to bring Jim into disrepute. She didn't want to get even. But there was just peace, something she wanted. To get it, she had to do something she had been afraid to do for over a decade. Give up the idea of Jim Jones. Something changed with the ring. A beach, a handwritten message, a spectacular proposal, helicopters, rose petals, and rap lyrics stitched into a diamond were all absent. And a man who, instead of trying to repair Chrissy, wanted to create with her. That man's name was Bellamy Marcus. Yes, the renowned architect who specializes in building homes for hip-hop's elite. They met at an interior design gala at the AUS, end of 2022. Chrissy was there to assist a friend. The production leak has not resulted in any expulsions. The makers of Real Love, Real Lives seem to have known about Chrissy's marriage prior to two Jims. A dot indeed. Weeks before filming began, Chrissy reportedly asked for time to amend her contract. At the end of the reunion, she wanted to talk freely and uninterruptedly about her relationship status, and she didn't want Jim's reaction recorded. She only wanted to get her story back, but the producers saw a chance to make it go viral. Without informing Jim or anybody else, they rescheduled her announcement for the final 5 minutes of the run-up performance, notifying the cast. They didn't even brief the host. They wanted the event to feel authentic. What they received was pure suffering, encapsulated in 4,000 dots. When Chrissy realized how they had set Jim up, she was indeed furious. She had cautioned them against exploiting his reaction. The video, however, belonged to the network once it was recorded. Additionally, she realized that once the footage was leaked, there was no turning back. Jim talks to Eugim's best boy, who asked to stay in the inner circle. During the reunion, Jim Jones was actually getting ready to ask Chrissy to marry him, again. An anonymous conversation with an urban podcast claimed that Jim had already selected a ring. He had hidden the ring inside his bag, planning to remove it after talking to Mama Jones, who was pleasantly uplifting. The plan: one last try, one more shot at their most recent meeting. But here's the twist. He never received the chance since before he could respond, Chrissy dropped her own bomb. I'm married already. Supporters were divided. Some people believe Chrissy should have warned him. According to others, she has been warning him for the last 20 years. She fell in love with the tranquility she had never known the day following the reunion. Chrissy turned off her phone and got on an upstate train. Only she and Marcus without an entourage or glitz. They stayed in a little cabin on the lake and ate home-cooked meals. Food. Without looking over their shoulder, I played jazz. They chuckled. Chrissy cried twice, according to someone close to her. He claims he still had to cope with the idea that she had shattered a man who had previously loved her deeply. So he did it once out of remorse and once out of release. Notwithstanding the cheers of the people and supporters, he did not know how to prove it. She knew this, though, as well. If I didn't leave, I would wither. Jim is hearing rumors that you're organizing something in the interim. Jim is not quite done. Sources claim that he has been working on a brand new solo tune that admirers believe sounds an album by Chrissy on disc. The title should have been Familiar to Me. The song's violent elite segment also include lyrics such as, "She stole my allegiance and flipped it to quiet." Gave Jim Jones disappeared from the public eye in the days following Chrissy's wedding. But one thing is for sure, whether it's heartbreak, jail, or both, Chrissy isn't looking back and Jim is in misery. She handed me violence. Announcement. No interviews, no, not even a sub-tweet, but Instagram is thriving. Fans were used to Jim blowing up. He was the hero of Harlem and the voice of unrepentant emotion. However, this time he fell silent, which scared them. Many because Jim's silence was calm. The pressure was increasing. I should have known about the song that broke the internet. I should have known the beat. A surprise freestyle that Jim released on SoundCloud raised the lyrics, which include eerie references to 20 years of straight daggers. I gave you my time, my space and my time. You entered his life by plane. Suspicions that he was lying quiet forever. You departed, I was held responsible, the internet fell down, and I was unable to draw the line in time. You wore white, and I wore shame. One fan stitched a video of Chrissy's wedding reveal and captioned it, and the TikTok creator lost more than just a girlfriend. The song sparked amazing reactions. The final words I said to her were, "You are still my forever even if you just visit me in dreams." His legacy was lost, but it was the outro that had everyone holding their pearls. Reggie had a secret camera behind the scenes, but no one was supposed to remember it. It turns out that before Jim left the building that it caught one more moment. That evening, as he stood by the exit door with their hoodie pulled down, their glasses back on and their chains taken off. Chrissy's best friend Kendra was waiting with her suitcase when he paused for a moment to talk to her. He went out into the darkness after telling her that he didn't want this to stop and that she outgrew him, which was something I was always worried about. Kendra wanted everyone to know it wasn't all ego, so she purposely posted the video even though it was never seen. First, he just didn't know how to love himself. She was loved by that man. We never heard the vows. Supporters were unaware that Chrissy's wedding had taken place 2 months before the reunion was recorded, with only 30 guests, no media, and no film. Chrissy's vows, a Spanish outdoor patio and a sunset that seemed to have been crafted by God himself, were all poetic and personal. But one particular passage stood out and was, "I'm thankful to the man who saw me before anybody else did because you taught me what love isn't and how to ask for better things." I accidentally published this to a close friend's Instagram story, and now I understand. Some people were angry with you. Chrissy was considered offensive. That promise shouldn't have been gloomy. Others said it was poetry masquerading as closure, but she still harbored feelings for Jim. In addition to speaking up, Mama Jones stepped in just when the internet feared. Things were getting too nasty in this agonizingly written chapter that ends with power. The incident begins when she posts a video of herself holding a white glass and saying, "I'll say it again," while standing at her kitchen counter. I love Chrissy. The answer is always yes. However, you don't do similar things on television and expect the same reaction from viewers. I quote, "I'm glad she was able to find happiness, but don't pretend that my son didn't put in a lot of effort. For her, you waited. Indeed. You know what, dear? He lived through you too." Fans were split over the statements. She said to tell her mother, "You mentioned him to the others. Blame the man instead of the woman." Jim sobbed in beats while Chrissy waited, according to one of the most popular comments. Silently. They both lost, but only one came back. So what about Jim? Jim reportedly went back to the studio when Chrissy and Marcus were on their honeymoon in Italy. But not for music, it was for treatment, yes. There are rumors that Jim joined a private men's club in secret. He was at an emotional healing retreat in upstate New York, where there were no phones, no press, and no distractions, according to those close to him. He wants to make the man better before he gets back into the spotlight. He isn't attempting to return then. It's true. Additionally, it's growing because the gym has grown from 10 to be popular. At this gym, I would have gone to a strip bar, dropped a CD tape, and dated a stranger years ago. Chrissy is content. Photos taken in a seaside cafe. Chrissy and Marcus and I are sharing a meal. There are no paparazzi or fans present. Just her head smiling softly lying on his shoulder. Couldn't help but be happy for her since she made the decision to be herself. After years of begging, praying, and suffering, people want peace, not attention, clapbacks, or cultural recognition. Chrissy offered Jim every chance to show up, but he didn't say anything in answer to multiple questions. She then told a friend, "I left him to save me, not to hurt him." Messages from fans that went viral. Bid farewell. Emotional debt results from unchanging love. She made a profit. All right. Jim Jones came to the realization that hard effort and loyalty are not synonymous. Batman's queen was treated like a backup dancer and wasn't waiting for a wedding. Let's imagine this story's climactic sequence as a split screen. On the left, Jim Jones is seated in a dim lit, looking at an old photo of Chrissy in the studio with his headphones off and tears in his eyes. She longed to be wanted. Chrissy can be seen walking down a cobblestone on the right. Street. With her new ring shining in the afternoon sun, she walks hand in hand with Marcus, not bothering to look behind. "That's it, family," was all she had to say. The story of lost when the world wasn't supposed to see it, love, squandered time, and finding healing were all documented on film. This wasn't just a drama on reality TV. Instead, what was being exposed was a decade of love, quiet, and missed opportunities. To the world, Jim Jones lost not just Chrissy, but also the version of her that was waiting for him. Chrissy chose to marry for harmony rather than vengeance. Now is your turn to talk. Do you think that by revealing her marriage on public television, Jim put himself in a precarious position? Or was it Chrissy's fault for keeping her waiting so long? Comment below to let us know if you're more on the #Team Chrissy or #Team Jim Jones. It's important to know the result of Chrissy's new husband confronting Jim directly. The stroke that turns on the post comes next. In order to receive notifications, click the like button. As a consequence of this story, it is not yet complete. We have located our cameras. They're not welcome. They're not welcome.